Remember, folks, that if it ain't weird, it ain't here. We are the Weird Boys. I'm Ryan. I'm here in the car on the way to Seven Gables Road with
Ricky.
the master of all things horror. We're just going to have the mic on, so excuse any excess noise, road noise, whatever else noise, weird noise, ghost noise.
White noise.
As we're going, we just figured we'd record while we're on the way. Maybe get a little bit of cool stories out of Rick. So what you got going on?
Kill him, man.
Rick's camera shy.
Not camera shy, there's no camera.
So while we're on our way, we thought we'd dazzle you with our extreme knowledge of everything nothingness. So what first drew you to Seven Gables, Rick?
You know, you grew up with those ghost stories, those urban legends, those things you hear about. Chasing the boogeyman, I guess you'd say. And that's kind of one of the things that I like to go out and experience with my friends and family and people that really appreciate it.
Your family's, they've done a few of these different things.
Oh yeah, we've been to probably about 15 or 20 here, just locally here in Michigan.
Such as?
Nutica Cemetery is probably one of our favorites. We've been to Hawkshead Cemeteries. We've been to the Felt Mansion. We've spent Halloween night at the Henderson Castle as well.
Oh, nice.
Didn't stay there, but we got a nice little tour by the owner Francois. Good guy.
Felt Mansion, that's, is that Melonheads?
Yep.
Ooh.
Plus, it also has the story of being haunted by the doctor himself that owned the mansion.
Oh, nice.
They actually do ghost tours there and stuff during the day if you want to go there.
Oh, that's sweet. We're definitely going to have to go there soon.
Oh, yeah. That's another, I don't know, probably hour and a half where we're at. Not far. About the same distance here. We're going to Seven Gables.
Well, for those who don't know, the story behind Seven Gables, there's a few different ones, but there was said to be a witch that lived there at one point. And go ahead and take that one, Rick, so I can drive.
I love it. Yeah. Yeah, it's one of the at least 2 or 3 witch stories that I know of locally here, Southwest Michigan, a little north. This is supposed to be one of the most haunted places here in Michigan, so I'm interested to see what and if we run into anything.
Now, this is one of those places too that it's drawn the attention from ghost hunters and investigators, mediums. I think it's been on at least 10 different radio stations. It's in multiple different books. It is a very, I hate to use the word popular,
right,
but popular place for people like us to come. We might even run into a few people, and if we do, I'm going to try to get some of their stories or anything else they've heard about it.
Yeah, that'd be great. Some
But
locals.
it's kind of like Skinwalker Ranch or the Bridgewater Triangle and all those. There are so many different stories from a wide variety of people, not just your paranormal believers and ghost hunters and all that. I mean, you're talking hunters that go out there and they have weird encounters. You have people that just go out there and hike and they run into shadows. There's some pictures we were looking at from a medium that went out there. She
Those
said
are pretty interesting.
she didn't really feel any dark presence in there, and some of the family members had quote unquote talked to her, and she was and there were some pictures online for that. But she did capture on camera dark shadows out in the woods, and she said there is a portal tree out there. So I'm hoping to find that.
It should be an interesting day, man. There's a lot of stuff out there we can check out. Hopefully come across a few of the things.
Well, and again, there's multiple houses out there too that have been affected by this, to where the entire again, I think it's 300 and some odd acres is now owned by the DNR. It's all that state land.
Yeah, it's funny, like Cal says things about, like, with the rattlesnakes and such. You know, if you believe in witchcraft and those type of things, it'd be very easy for a witch to manifest a lot of snakes in a certain area,
Right.
and it'd be a so-called cursed land in that aspect.
Well, I mean, again, if you're talking curses and whatnot, where you would, in my mind, you're thinking salted earth, stuff like that, where things can't grow or, it's all dead wood. You see these pictures from out there, and it is gorgeous, but at the same time, that also could probably be part of a trap of a curse,
Right.
luring you there with beauty.
Well, it's definitely got my attention, and been on my radar for quite a while. I'm happy to get out there and get a chance to actually go out here and see it and see what it's about.
Right.
I mean,
Now, we'll go into the believer side, because we've talked before too on things like this. If there were powers and stuff like that, and you look into witchcraft and all this other stuff, um, again, that half believer, half skeptic is, in theory, the one that puts himself most at danger.
well, yeah, because the ones that go out there and act like, oh, this is no big deal, you really don't know. And yeah, you may go to a place 3, 4, 5 times, see nothing, but it's that one time, and it's gonna make you open your eyes for sure.
Well, and again, under the assumption that it's all real, um, even if it wasn't, if you are going there and nothing happens to you or you hear a weird noise, I think your brain's opening yourself up to your own paranoia of, oh my gosh, I heard a noise while I was out there. You get freaked out, you run away, and then you're so paranoid once you get home, you might be causing yourself into not necessarily a self harm, but, that situation where you're driving yourself insane.
Right. I mean, you can go out here and think that you're gonna be perfectly fine, and you might be. Then again, you might not be. If there's such a thing as real, that's what we're out here to do, to see if we can find out some sort of evidence that some of these things may exist.
Ooh, I know we picked that up. All good.
Yeah.
So either way, whether you believe, you don't believe, or you want to investigate these things to try to disprove, well, first off, we're never going to recommend you go out to places unless you've done some thorough research into every angle and aspect of these things. Do not try to go out and disprove,
No, at
because
least,
you're going to end up getting hurt.
yeah, at least do the research, educate yourself on the subject. Even if you don't believe, listen to other people's tales, other people's stories. You know, these are all experiences those people had. It may not be your experience. You may not have an experience other than the fact of going out to a great place in a beautiful country, you know, but that's what it's all about. Your experiences, not somebody else's.
And it's, I mean, I don't have to be a believer in Bigfoot to know I shouldn't go out and walk alone in the woods trying to find Bigfoot and prove he's not real, because it's just not safe.
Yeah, you may not run into Bigfoot. Maybe it's a bear. You never know.
But, you know, if you do want to go out and you are looking for ways on a believer's aspect, um, what are some of the ways that you protect yourself, Rich?
My personal number one: never go alone. That's the most foolish stuff you can do, because you have no idea what you're going to encounter. It doesn't necessarily have to be a metaphysical thing. It could be an actual physical entity, person, creature, whatever, human that you run into that you have to worry about. So never ever go alone. Always make sure you have friends with you.
Yeah, you could run into Bubba, who doesn't want you on his property.
You just don't know. Uh, some people use amulets. Some people use spells. Some people use prayers. Whatever your belief system is, I definitely recommend spending a few minutes and doing a few things before you take yourself out into a situation like this. Because even if it is, if it's not real, no big deal. But if it is, you're gonna want that help.
Right. Like you said, if it's not real, what'd you do? Oh, you spent 2 minutes praying or doing, a personal mantra or whatever else, meditating.
Exactly.
No waste of time. If it is, you're covered.
You'll be thankful.
Well, and on protections too, like it's not always a summoning circle. Like it could be as simple as again just keeping your head um, in a positive mindset.
Yeah, if that's the biggest thing is, if you're in a situation like this, and let's say you do think that you hear something or see something, keep your wits about you. Do not panic. That is the worst thing you can do. Stay focused and look for a way out,
Right.
because that's going to be your best bet.
Well, and I've read a whole lot of things about like obviously possession and all this, that, and the other, and they've said like it very clearly. One of the big things across all of the boards is you can't be possessed, you can't be harmed unless you invite it in. So if you walk in there, and that's where we say that half skeptic, if you walk in there trying to disprove and saying, oh yeah, nothing's going to come in here and nothing's going to do this, I'm inviting all the ghost over, that's an open invitation. Like you are likely to, again, if it was real, something happened to you.
Yeah, a recommendation for me is absolutely do not invite anything in. If you are any type of believer, make sure you make the spirits or whatever it is that you're going out to seek it understand that they cannot control you. You are in control of the situation, and that's why keeping your wits about you is so huge.
Well, as we were doing the research on some of the paranormal games too, a lot of reoccurring themes too. Obviously, salt, summoning circles,
Yeah,
um, the brick and whatnot.
yeah,
Uh, and one of the things they also are saying, if you encounter anything during travels, is you don't interact with it.
no,
And like we were watching, listening, or sorry, I was reading the I'm gonna butcher the name, but the Tashuriaru,
yeah,
and um, you're supposed to go to this crossroads and wait for play this game and do this, that, the other, and wait for it. And if someone does show up, if you don't have your face covered, you're not supposed to interact with it. So if you don't acknowledge sometimes that spirits are there, they they have no power over you.
right,
And the elevator game, when the spirit supposedly gets in, you're not supposed to acknowledge or talk to it because then it gives it power.
yeah. Gives it the opportunity to take control of the situation, and that's the last thing that you want. You definitely want to be in control of the situations.
And while we were talking about some of the poltergeist stories, and they get really interesting, and we'll definitely be hitting on those a little bit later. But a lot of the things that really start messing up some of the poltergeists is that people come in and try to test. And while you're testing them, like, oh, if there's really a spirit here or a poltergeist, move this table. Well, a lot of the thing with these spirits is when they come into fruition or they come into this, that, the other, or they're not necessarily always there haunting, but they're young. They don't have powers. They don't
Right, they're new
have
to
the
it.
ability.
Right, and the more that they're there, the more you interact with them, the more things you do with them, the stronger their power in theory grows. You know, eventually they'll become strong enough to take over the situation.
And I mean, even you even go into horror movie legends, and it and Freddy Krueger. The power over those, call them spirits, is you start ignoring them,
Yes,
or you turn your fear back around on it, and so like ignoring it, like that is something.
yes. You know, the theory that salt is used for protection, that's been around since the beginning of time, before many of the religions that are out here today. And several religions acknowledge this. It's not just the Celtics or the pagans or the Christians even. Like there are several religions that acknowledge this. And
Yeah, I mean, salt used to be put in the cribs, and there's a lot of power behind that. And,
yeah, they're used for lining houses, and foundations, and doors, circles, protection circles. To keep the spirits out.
well, even the Christian religion used to put it under babies' cribs and even in uh, caskets and whatnot. and I always found that interesting I was reading on that. Um, and again, you see that basis of an earth element that is used to preserve.
Yep.
So it's a very life-based thing, and it's one of those things too that you get too much of a good thing, it can harm you. But it's also, I mean, you need it.
Yeah. The human life is based on using salt.
But before we detract too much, the Seven Gables, again, which was there, and however the entire area um, got cursed. Family later on actually bought, from what I've read, her house,
Yes.
and whatever else
Roughly
happened.
25 years after,
Yeah,
or
something like that. Whatever happened, he went crazy and supposedly killed his entire family and then hung them from the gables in his house. Now, whether the road was already named or got renamed, I'm not sure. And throughout the internet and the Facebook groups and everything else, I haven't found that yet.
yeah, I don't know the answer for exactly how long it's been named Seven Gables Road. But you would think, with there being multiple foundations there and whatnot, there's probably multiple stables.
Right.
You know,
Well, and again,
a huge horse
is
farm.
there 7 properties? Was it the 7 gables that something happened on? But I did read too that uh, there's been quite a few, again, issues and stuff that's happened. People that have gone out here and had accidents later on,
Yeah.
or everything else. And
Car accidents and drownings and
which
just ill will.
I guess before we start saying all those stories, we should probably bring up what the actual curse is, don't you think?
Yeah, I think we should.
So, according to the legend, when you turn on this road, you go down for about a mile, and it's a dirt road. And when you get to the end, there's the parking area, and supposedly
The gate.
the big red gate that goes into the wilderness and the foot travels.
Yep.
Now, when you cross over that gate, you're fine going in. But at any point,
You hear a woman scream,
correct.
then you need to rush for the gate.
Well, I've heard mixed on that.
Yeah.
I've heard if at any point while you're out there you hear a woman scream, it's not necessary to leave, but like, or something will follow you. But I've also heard that people have heard the scream, ignored it, and then continued on.
Right.
So again, you get mixed legends, and obviously, are you talking probably 90% BS on the internets to try to get popular versus what actually happened? Who knows?
Right.
But
I mean, if we hear a woman scream, I can promise you that's not going to be the last time that we're right there.
oh no. Now, if you hear this woman scream, it's supposedly the witch, and her curse is activated. But it's only activated to the last person who leaves.
Right.
So again, according to the community, the way around this is that you link arms and you cross at the same time. Literally right foot by right foot, left foot by left foot, and time it in sync with each other.
Yeah.
That way,
You don't want to be the last one over the gate.
yeah. And Kyle did bring up, he's like, well, doesn't that make both of you? And supposedly, no, it's her power's only strong enough to affect one person's fate.
Yes.
Now,
Or that may be how the curse is told.
right.
To where it's, the last person, not persons,
Again, the fine print. And all
Right.
that.
We weren't there. We didn't make it.
Right. Like, I'm not going to argue. If it's the last person, I'm going to not be the last person.
Right. But this should be a great trip. Fun, interesting. There's so much stuff out here. I'm really excited to get into it.
Yeah, I've got there's creepypastas all over. There's entire subreddits. There's Facebook groups galore. People make weekly trips out here, and I kind of figured that kind of thing would probably happen, But when I started reading like how many people interact with this, and this guy's like, I'm out every weekend. I try to go out there 5 times a week. This, that. I'm like, holy.
Well, there's a lot
man.
of us weird people out there
Right.
in the world that enjoy these things. You know, it's the adrenaline rush, it's the excitement.
Speaking of weird people, at any time you guys want to head on over to Facebook, YouTube, or Patreon and give our page a like and watch our videos, subscribe to YouTube.
It'd be much appreciated. We're just getting started, but I promise you the content's only going to get better and better as we go.
And I think most importantly, though, is remembering to hit the share button.
Shit to share?
Yeah, hit the share button. Yeah, again, we're going unedited. All right, that was such a great choice. But anyway, hit the share button, because if we can't get more and more people out there, obviously, we're still going to continue to do this. We love doing it, but
It's our passion. It's our hobby right now. It's a great time to do it. I mean, the world is screwed up in 2020, so you might as well get out there and just get weird.
yeah, the more and more of you that we get on here, the more and more things we can start doing. Like, I know we wanted to head out to Skinwalker Ranch is probably
That will be one of our
that's
best
number one.
best trips ever, I believe. It's going to take some doing, but we'll get there.
I'm hoping by episode 100.
That'd be great.
That'd be an actual great episode 100 to be able to do as that centennial. But either way,
You never know. We find something out here pretty interesting today. It may be another trip back to Seven Gables for
Right.
episode 100.
yeah. Or even, and again, if you guys have any stories, by all means, please, please, please
Share them.
share them with, send us a message. You can send us an email. I think I've got the email link up on the Facebook page. If you don't want it to be so public, but shares things. If there's certain episodes or subject matters you guys definitely want to hear us cover, by all means, like, send away, because
We've got
obviously,
plenty of it.
I mean, we're gonna do this, but we do this so people can hear about it and we can spread our message.
Get you guys an opportunity to feel like you went on these trips and on these locations, or maybe at some point that'll spark a peak or pique an interest in you guys to do this. You know, to go out and enjoy things. But like I said, if you're going to protect yourself, be safe, always bring a friend, and do the research. Know what you're getting yourself into.
I mean, if you're going out or doing anything like that too, maybe your friend could be the Weird Boys.
You never know. You got a good place, nice local place somewhere here.
Yeah, like we just got sent that abandoned motel
Yes,
that we didn't know about.
I mean I've been to the Keepers Creepers schoolhouse. Like, these are just day trips, weekend trips that you can do and just have a good time and to just explore and just be out.
Right, and again, and like you said, it's 2020. There's a lot of messed up things that have happened, obviously. But getting out and having these experiences while you're here and making these connections with your friends and whatnot, like, it's only going to make your life more worthwhile.
Yeah, you go out on one of these adventures. This could be a story, or get on one with us or whatever. It could be something you can tell your grandkids about. You never know.
You're soon to have grandkids.
At some point, they may or may not.
Not everybody's as old as you, Rick.
Right? I still have no grandkids, so
long time.
I'm perfectly fine with that currently. That's why I can still go out and do these things.
Right?
I don't have kids dropping off the grandkids at Grandpa's house.
I don't know if this is an omen of my upcoming hunting trip, but I have probably seen about 10 deer on the side of the road.
Right.
I'm going to say hunting trip and not the Seven Gables trip, because if that's an omen of today, then we in trouble, buddy.
Yeah, we'll be fine.
So, me personally, I think going on one, back to a little bit of protections and whatnot. I have my St. Michael.
Yep.
I've got my Thor's hammer and my Black Rock,
Black Onyx.
Black Onyx.
I too have those on. I have my Black Onyx, and I have my St. Michael medallion, and I also have some Blessed Salt.
Blessed Salt.
Oh, and a little bit of moon water.
Moon water.
Absolutely.
Now, for those listeners at home, how do you get moon water, sir?
It's a pretty basic concept. You gather rainwater, and uh, once you get the amount that you want, you put it in a bottle and let it go from lunar cycles. The more lunar cycles that it goes through, the stronger it becomes, and the more useful it becomes to a person that uses such a thing.
Now I'm just gonna ask for the layman, the lunar cycle referring to full moon to full moon, or
Full moon to full moon, and actually this moon water just so happens to be seeing the last full moon, which was a blue moon on Halloween, October 31st. So that should have some pretty good bearing on what we're trying to do today.
I've got some pretty good pictures of that moon through some clouds and trees and whatnot. Made it look really cool. I was a little disappointed because we wanted to do that werewolf video.
Yep.
But every time I would go outside and try to get a picture of the moon, it was either overcast or it wasn't blue.
No, but we were fortunate this Halloween. I mean, the weather wasn't terrible.
No.
It could have been really bad.
I mean, I've been out where it's been snow. I've been out
Yeah.
where and it's usually, as much as I love this time of year, it is pretty miserable to be out walking around.
Not today, sir.
Past few times I've been.
70 degrees, sunny.
Right.
On your way to Seven Gables. Probably one of the last warm days we're going to see this year.
I'm hoping so because, again, Friday, leaving for my trip up north, and it's not very fun to hunt in 70-degree weather.
Well, it sure is fun to hunt witches in 72-degree weather. So let's see what we can find out here.
And that's one of the other things I'm going to have to look up is if there's anything up where I'm going. I didn't even think about that until I woke up this morning. I'm like, I'm going to be there for 6 days.
Oh, I'm sure there's something right around you, man.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, when we got started, I think I spent 3 days on the internet. And I went down rabbit hole after rabbit hole of different conspiracies and stuff I like. And I barely touched the hauntings of even Michigan.
Right.
We found, I think there's probably a good week where we talked each night on top 30 places that we would just Google on America's hauntings, or this ghost story, that ghost stories. I mean, it's so rich in the history, and they always have, a nice little culture, or this, that, the other. They're not always like really dangerous abandoned houses that you need to go find. Right. Sometimes they do, sometimes they do get turned into tourist traps.
Places with history.
But like again, it's still a history thing, and that's always what like draws me.
Right.
Is that history buff in me that just like, and again, people maintain these properties. They keep them nice, better than a lot of other places where you just go and like people leave them trashed.
Yeah. That's another thing. You go to a place like this, if that's what you choose to do not destroy anything. You leave it the way you found it.
Well, again, like that's just being a good person, let alone the disturbing. Again, if something was actually there, you want to trash the place and then piss off the entity there. Like,
right.
That just sounds like a bad idea.
Bad energy out, bad energy in.
And yeah. So then you've got your book that you let me read. Like, that was amazing.
Yes.
And then we found the Shadowlands website.
Yeah, that's always been one of my favorites.
This live, updated, constant like input of different haunt sightings and this, that, the other. And I mean, we're gonna try to hit a lot of these places, but obviously, I mean, you turn around and throw a stone, there's a story.
Right. Start at places near you, close to you, things that don't take a lot of effort or money to go do. Go out there, snap a few pictures, sit and listen. It's all a good time.
Well, like everybody always brings up the cemetery aspect.
Yes.
There's always a story around a cemetery, and part of that is obviously because there's a lot of potential energy there for spirits and whatnot. But like in reality too, even when you're going to investigate, like I know one of the things you always constantly bring up is the beauty of some of the gravestones.
Yeah.
And when we were at the graveyard yesterday, I stopped and like again, like I started looking around at some of those gravestones, and they are art.
Yeah, you'll see headstones where people just see it as, a lump of stone, but in all reality, what it is that's somebody's passion for that loved one
Right.
that they put into that tombstone or getting that tombstone made for that person. You know,
Well, like I imagine being the person that does that kind of work. Like, not only are you doing masonry work, which is not easy in its first place, but like you're that's got to be really rewarding because you are creating an art piece to memorialize somebody else's loved one
right?
to last, and I think that's a paranormal hunter. That's funny. Sorry, we just sidetracked.
Yeah.
But you're memorializing someone's loved one that's going to last for all these ages, and like one of these stones I loved in a double grave. It was two hearts with a picture of what I would assume their farm
Yeah.
etched into this stone, laser etched into this stone, and it was absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah, I've seen tombstones that are shaped like coffee tables, and
Benches.
one has a Lord's Prayer on it, and the other one has a poem from Starry Nights. Like that just shows like the love for those two people.
Right.
Obviously those were things that those two people were passionate about. I've been to several cemeteries around here in Michigan. Some supposed to be haunted, some supposed to be, just um, let's say celebrities, if you would,
Mhm.
for lack of better terms.
Like not Ford, but Post.
Post, Kellogg, Sojourner Truth, like these are all people that etched their name in history. And for me, it's like an opportunity to go see them without being able to actually see them.
Yeah, I've been to Johnny Appleseed's graveyard down in Indiana, and you're there, and again, it does turn into a little bit of a tourist trap. But like while you're there, you pick up that little bit of history and the legend and folklore behind it. Yeah, but like again, you are now part of that. Like it's a story to pass on what you've seen, and I think that's like why like when we started saying we wanted to do this, like why I jumped on board so much because it was like, this is something you can pass down. These are our stories when we go out and do these things.
Our experiences.
Yeah, our experiences, and like again, we're not trying to persuade you whether it's real or not. If we see something, we see something. But like our experience is really cool to us, and I know that we've had a bunch of people talk to us already that like again they love hearing about it because it's not something they would necessarily go out and listen to right off the bat, but because we're doing it, like
Yeah. Spoiler alert: 2021 Clown Cemetery. Check it out.
oh yeah,
Absolutely. That's one that we will have done next year, for sure.
yeah, we'll definitely make a weekend. Hopefully, we can line it up with the museum.
Yeah. It all aligns back to like where I'm from, the history of where I'm from. Like this is a tragic part of history that happened, and it actually stems back to my hometown, where we'll get into that later.
Hey, don't give too much away.
We'll get into that later.
Well, like again, like there is a lot of people out there that they grab a camera, they go do their experiences, they have such a good time, and they decide to go out again, and they're getting really popular, and podcasting in general is getting popular because it's that escape from your monotony.
Not to mention, it's nowadays who really wants to go out and sit in a room with 100 different people? We can't do that right now. So to sit back with just a microphone with you or a couple of friends.
Well, that's what we're also like you. I think you had mentioned earlier that we're trying to convey that we want you guys to feel that you're here with
Right.
our pictures and everything else. And not everybody's one willing or two. I'm not going to call you guys scaredy cats, but
It might be.
or even have the access or knowledge to go out and do these things or find these. Like I didn't know about. I'm going to say 99.9% of any of the haunted places in the world. I'm fairly new to the hauntings and everything else. I've been more of the conspiracy and cryptid side
Right.
of the research, but like
It's all weird.
and it's all history.
It is.
I mean, that's what I can't get over. Is it's the legends last, they get passed down, and the stories change slightly, but like it sticks, man. And like to me, that's part of the seller.
Well,
Is like
it's a proven fact that all urban legends start with some bit of truth.
right.
So
Something happened to somebody somewhere.
exactly. So here at Seven Gables that we're headed to, at some point there had to be some small amount of truth to something that happened on this land.
Well, and again, like even in obviously Salem, they have
Right.
Seven Gables as well, and there's actually a haunting story that goes on there. But like, was this a witch during that time period, or was she even accused of a witch, maybe?
Right.
And I've been kind of looking for that kind of different angle about maybe this kind of stuff didn't happen because witches cursed. Because I do think witches have gotten a bad name.
Yeah.
Because obviously
There's all types of witches. There's all types of magic. There's all types of believers. There's all types of religions.
right, and everything, things that revolve around magic are not always bad. It's just like your modern day weapons and everything else. It's the person behind them. It's the heart of the person that
The
what they
intent.
do it, the intent. You can go out there and you can have the best intentions ever. And is there black magic? Yes. Is there dark spells? Yes. But even someone using those with pure intent, they're not necessarily doing them badly. It's not necessarily bad.
No.
Now, if you're asked to sacrifice a child for one of your components and you decide that's okay, you might be borderline.
Right. But that's your choice, not mine to tell you.
But then your intent is also that little bit of selfish.
Correct.
Whereas, again, most everything you read, whether from druids or alchemists or Wiccans,
Wiccans.
it's earth-based magic. It's neutral. It's things that are you put positive energies out in the world.
Balance.
And with everything, I think if you put positive energy back out into the world, that's better anyway. Whether it be from your attitude, your words, or everything else, I think everybody could use a little bit of more positive energy.
Oh yeah. Promote positivity. So hopefully
Um,
you'll be in better situations.
but like, then you look in sorcerers, warlocks, um, the original demonologist, not your modern day exorcist demonologist.
Right.
Um, those go into a little bit different kinds of magic. Chaos magic. Your left and right hand magic is still considered to be neutral slash good. And all magic and everything else, it's yin and yang, it's balance, and that goes across so many different religions and everything else too.
Beliefs, yeah.
Like you would not have good without evil. And obviously, we've been jumping around and everything else, and I'm probably gonna put up an edited version and an unedited, just to have fun with it.
Yeah.
But we are trying to stay away from some of the stories and stuff until after we've been there. That way, we can kind of give our perspective on, see where the stories go and whatnot
Right.
once we're there.
Talk a little bit about our experience.
Now, one of the things I have heard is that when you actually get to the foundation, like the electronics and everything just die.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping we can get some good footage and everything before then, because
Well, that's
that
the
would
theory.
suck.
That's the theory at a lot of places that are supposed to have a lot of energy, spiritual energy there.
The ongoing joke with one of the websites is Verizon is apparently not everywhere you want to be.
Yeah. I'm sure coverage is going to be interesting out here. We'll see.
That's one thing that I've got at home is obviously everybody, we rely so much on our phone.
Oh, yeah.
But I've got an old school, like, satellite link GPS.
Right.
And I'm like, we probably won't need that. And then I'm like,
We
well,
might need that.
maybe we should.
Yeah, this is, supposed to be pretty heavily, it's a state game area.
Yeah.
So, and obviously another thing when you're out there, especially this time of year, be careful of the hunters. Be aware of them as well as hopefully they're aware of you.
Well, again, being respectful when you go to these places is probably one of the biggest things. If you, again, not to keep hitting on that positive energy, but if you're going in and you're being respectful and you don't necessarily want to be quiet when you're walking out in the woods. I mean, that's survival 101. You want to have a little noise about you, so because if you run into bears or animals, and I don't think we're in bear country
No,
necessarily,
but there's rumors of bobcats,
like
and
you
you
make a
really never know.
noise, usually things are more scared of you than that you are of it. Like just because you're talking doesn't mean the spirits are drawn to you. But if you're talking and having conversations or trying to make a little bit of noise, I know normally I normally hang actual set of bells to my backpack, so that I'm jingling around. This also lets hunters and again people know that you're around and coming up. And for instance, when we were out at
Asylum Lake.
Asylum Lake, we were actually trying to record a movie, and people are walking up and talking. And but if they were quiet walking up, we wouldn't have seen them. And not that it would have been so bad that people are walking through the footage, but like obviously you got different scenarios on that way. So again, always keep your wits about you and everything else.
Be respectful of other people. There may be people out here doing the same thing you're doing or something completely different.
And one of the things too with these that you know I'm kind of finding entertaining, but at the same time it's kind of getting a little pet peevish of mine is when people are talking about these different subjects and they're arguing.
Yeah.
Like, oh no, the lore is this. Oh no, magic's this. Oh no, it's this, that, the other. Like, who are you to say like what it is?
Yeah, one version is right and the other one is wrong. Just because you heard it one way doesn't necessarily mean the way that you heard it is going to be correct. That's why you go have your own experiences.
Right, like one guy was out here and they said they had dogman or and dire wolf sightings.
Now that's a little hard for me to believe, seeing that most of the dogman, sightings and stuff are much further north to the west.
Right.
Not saying it can't be over here,
but it's just like Skinwalker Ranch. If you're down in Skinwalker Ranch and the UFO guy is saying, look, it's nothing but UFOs, and the Skinwalker guy is saying, no, this is right in the path of Skinwalker Alley, and the ghost guy is like, you all are crazy, this is what it is, and they're all arguing with each other on which one it is. Like, you're not really bettering the area. Not to mention, you're also bringing negativity to it.
Take everybody's, opinion into consideration on these type of things because, you may be out there and maybe you are in tune with spirit and maybe you pick up ghosts and maybe you don't see the skinwalker, but maybe you do. Does that mean that there aren't other things out there? Absolutely not.
Well, that's my biggest thing, like, as I'm going into some of these things, did somebody see a dogman or mothman or Bigfoot once in one time? I wasn't there. I'm not to say to say what they saw.
Right.
It's not for me to discount or disprove, but like, you can't go out there and say, oh, it's not there anymore. Like, yeah, okay, they might not be there anymore, but you can't say it never was unless you're there.
Part of the thrill of the hunt for me is it's really about if it's out there, show me. I want to see it. I want to come there to see it.
Yeah, you're not necessarily looking to get disproven.
No.
But you're not going to...
I want my own experience.
Right, and you're not going to put your full faith into it either until you experience it. And that's kind of like when I look at some place that we might want to go, like, oh, this is really cool. And I'm not going to say until we're there 100% what it is. Like, I knew Asylum Lake, like, again, this is my one knowledge of stories. Yeah. I knew Asylum Lake had a paranormal history.
Yeah.
Not necessarily knowing what.
Yep. And actually, the psychiatric history is what drew me to it originally.
Interesting. But, like, once I was out there, and I've gone there probably 2 or 3 times now, and now that I have an experience there, I'm like, again, we didn't see anything. Yeah, we went during the day, and everybody says hauntings only come out at night. But
which
again,
is absolutely false.
Who's to say?
I mean, there's no reason to believe that it would be strictly lights out.
Like, if someone's telling you they're an expert and they have final say on the world of weird and paranormal, I'm probably going to be more skeptical of them because they say that.
Right.
Like, you cannot be, again, hitting back onto the how many stone's throws of stories there are out there, you cannot be an expert on 100% of everything in this genre.
Well, not just that, you can't be everywhere all the time, and that's the thing about going somewhere and experiencing things is you can't tell me that this is the only time, you know, that you went, it didn't show up, or it didn't appear, or it didn't manifest, or whatever. No, that's not the case. You can't dictate to these things when they appear and when they don't appear. This is something that they do on their own when they choose to. Now, the more often you go out there, is it more likely you're going to see something or experience something? Absolutely, if there's such a thing.
Well, it's like that. I was watching The Hunt for Skinwalkers the other day on Amazon, and the guy he writes the most novels and all the stories about this place. Um, he was saying he's been out there and tried every single thing in the book that he was told to do by either local natives or people that have gone out there and had experiences, and he said he has not had anything happen to him. But because of the stories and everything about there and just the coincidence of how many stories there are,
Right.
he cannot discredit that something is special about that place.
Yeah.
Now, when you again, I think when you look at is it a Indian burial ground, what makes these places special? Um, Bridgewater Triangle. It just so happens to be that swamp and roads form a triangle around it. But you see these Skinwalker Ranch, like there are way ley lines,
Yes.
stuff like that. Certain Earth magnetism poles that do, I think, make certain areas more susceptible than others.
Right.
Not just
the Michigan Triangle, the Bermuda Triangle. Like, these are all areas where a lot of suspicious activity has happened.
right.
Coincidence? Maybe.
And does somebody go out there and they want their 15 minutes of fame? Probably. But let's say 1% of the stories are true.
Yeah.
Somebody saw something. Like, you can't discredit that. You absolutely can't.
No. You know, photographs, things like that, that's all subject. It's all relative. You
Right.
know, can photographs and all this stuff be doctored? Absolutely, they can be doctored.
Now,
You know, are there some true photographs out there? I'm sure.
well, and again, like, you think, oh, these can be doctored, this, that. In our day and age, I think skeptics are more abundant because of what you can do with technology. But you think of some, like, in the 60s, 50s, and 70s, man, you got to do a lot of work or have a lot of money.
Yeah, pull out the Polaroid, take a picture. You know, like, that stuff is ancient technology, but it's some of the most tried and true because it's really hard to fluff those.
The Amityville house with the boy at the end of the bottom of the stairs.
Yes.
You're not doing that kind of thing. I mean,
Right.
um,
I mean, the time and effort at those times and the amount of money it would take you to do something like that, I mean, it's pretty
right.
far fetched.
And I especially like the stories like, forgive me if I misquote the name, but Penfield out in England that we were talking about.
Yeah.
And some of the poltergeists where you don't just get the family story, you get the cops that show up.
Yeah, I think
this, that, the other.
that's where stories get more credibility on my end. Is
The
when you
more
start
people
getting
that
these people,
collaborate.
the people that don't have anything to gain from it.
Right.
You know, they're not doing a movie deal. They're not doing a book deal. They have nothing to gain from it.
Well, and we mentioned that about Skinwalker Ranch. Like, the family that owned the place, he hated the fact that people were coming out there to investigate.
Right.
When he first asked, all he wanted was someone to get what was ever killing his flock,
livestock,
livestock,
yeah.
whatever, cattle, whatever,
Yep.
out of there. He wanted help with the problem. He
Yeah.
didn't want people coming in looking for UFO spirits and this, that, the other. He didn't know about skinwalkers. He did, and he didn't even claim to. He said something is affecting my flock, and he told his story.
Right.
And that's, I mean, again, out of all these things that we experience, I hope that we get, even if we get one,
Yes.
our story, and that's what it is.
I mean, today is going to be part of our story.
Yeah.
You know, there's going to be several chapters in this story. This is something that we're going to do for a while, hopefully, if all goes well and everybody's blessed and things continue on the way that they go. You know, but to me, this is going to be a really, really interesting time.
Well, again with the whole discrediting thing, I think one of the worst part about the non-believers and the skeptics is when someone tells their story. First off, when someone gets brave enough to tell their story, I think that's huge. I mean, you got to have a lot of trust nowadays
Yes,
to say something like this in a crowd that you don't know if they're believers or not.
there's going to be people, there's going to be naysayers, there's going to be negative people. You know, that's all on you if you choose to listen to them or take their negative energy in. You know, me on the other hand, I really don't care if anybody believes anything I say. The fact of the matter is, these are my experiences.
Right, we're doing it for us.
Right.
And obviously, you guys.
We like the fact that we can share them with you guys, but in all honesty, these are things that we're enjoying, you know, and we're glad that we can share it with you guys. But to the other side of it, I don't care if people think that the Seven Gables Road is real. That's irrelevant to me.
Right.
I'm going to tell you the real experience I had when I went there.
Well, like some of our coworkers, there's people who have their different beliefs, and we work with someone who 100% is a believer in psychics, mediums, tarot, and all that. And what just happened to her, like, I'm not going to discredit her or start playing, like, pull out science and say tarot and this, that, the other, because if it helps her cope with what happened,
By all means.
who am I to, like,
Yeah.
pardon my French, but shit on that?
Yeah.
Like, first off, that makes you a horrible person for making their grief worse.
Right.
And we were playing tarot the other day, and I think it was one of the best things in the world because I do not claim to have any powers, this, that, the other. And I shuffled the deck. I had someone draw the cards, and I read out of the book the interpretation that I would assume the tarot community or whoever made the deck and book, their interpretation of it and what their meaning behind it. I didn't tell the person anything. I didn't do this, that, the other. And out of the 5 people that did it, all of them kind of just got taken aback and like, whoa, that's interesting. And we'll chime in with Kyle with his experience with it, but like, it definitely, I think, helped him. Like, either, I think tarot, it brings that, even if seances and tarot and all those bring whatever problems you're having in life to the forefront and make you start dealing with them and make you like kind of face what's going on.
Yeah.
Like, that's good. Like, good for you.
Yeah,
like, it's there to like find whatever helps you, man. Like, don't bottle everything up and go crazy.
No.
Or even if it's going out with your buddies and investigating haunted sites to not be sitting on the couch playing video games.
Right.
Do you. Man, this is glorious country.
Yeah.
And like, again, there's people that we work with that are really staunch believers in mediums and tarots and all that. And like, I'm not going to discredit them for what they believe in because if it's helping them deal with their life, like,
whatever it takes to wash away the negative and bring positive, you know, however you do that, that's absolutely key in life, I think. You know.
well, we're getting close, so we're going to probably stop it here and then pick back up or make a part 2 on our reactions and what's not there and our stories being everything else.
Yep.
Thanks for chiming in so far.
Thanks for listening. Enjoy.
Stay weird. And again, chime on Facebook, send us messages, all that. We love hearing from you guys. YouTube and all that. Subscribe and share. Thank you.